Okay, so for part 3 of our series, I'm going to bring in an image that I've downloaded from the internet. I have it saved on my desktop, and I'm going to make that my background, and then we are going to work on adding a stroke, which would be like a thin outline around my text in the bar to kind of make it pop against the image, and we'll do a few little features on there on the blending options. So before I bring in this new image, I'm going to go ahead and add a new layer on top of this background. Okay, so I've selected the background, and if I come right there, I can click on that. It looks almost like a piece of paper, so it'll be my create new layer. So now I have this layer 1. So I'm going to go ahead and label this and call this my background. Okay. Then I'm going to go and open one of these images up. So I'm going to go File, Open. I've saved this to my desktop. And let's bring in this one. Okay, so I'm going to hit Open. Okay, and I am going to simply take this image and drag it over to here. So I still have my mouse held down. When I let go, boom, there we go. Now you notice it's extremely large. So if I zoom out, which is just holding Alt and my scroll wheel, or you can Control plus and Control minus to zoom in and out. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to hit Control T. What that's going to allow me to do is transform this layer. So I'm going to hit Control T. Ooh, and that's huge. So we could have brought that in smaller, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to go Alt-Shift and scale this down, which we learned how to do in our last video. So let me zoom back in. Okay, so let's make this a little bit bigger, so I'm holding Shift to maintain its proportions. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to hit Enter and lock that in. Now I'm going to drag this around until I get it looking the way I want it, which that looks cool right there. Okay, now I went ahead and added that in, but I didn't remember that when I drug that other layer over, it brought it in as a new layer. So you know what? This will be a good opportunity to show you how to delete a layer. So with that selected, I'm just going to hit the trash can. Yes, let's delete that, and let's name that our photo background. You know, really, we could delete this layer too because we're not going to use it. It's just a blank white layer that came with our new file. So I'm going to hit the trash can on that one, and we are going to delete it. Okay, so now I have my photo background, I have my name, and I have my green bar. So first of all, these two layers probably need moved over a little. I'm a little off-centered, so I'm going to just do this by eye for our purposes today. So I'm going to select both layers. I'm going to hold Control. And while I'm holding Control, if I click on that, it lets me pick them both. So now, while I have my Move tool selected, I can drag and move these both at once. Okay? So I want them to be like right there. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is go into the blending options. When I get into the blending options, it's going to allow me to add a little stroke around this. Because if you notice it, you kind of lose the text a little bit. So I can get this a couple ways. If I right click on my layer and go to blending options, it's at the very top, I'll get to it. I also could double click out here on the layer quickly, and it'll take me to the blending options as well. Okay, so what we'll commonly use in the graphic design we use for vehicle wraps and signage, we'll use stroke a lot. Okay, so I selected stroke. And if you notice, this is a gigantic stroke around here. So let's drop this down. Okay, and I'm actually going to make this white. Okay. And that gives us a little bit better view of that. Something that sometimes helps as well is a little bit of a drop shadow, which this needs brought in way tighter. Okay, kind of gives it a little bit more depth. These are things you can mess around with. Okay, just to have it appear like it's not quite blending in with the background anymore. Okay, now let's say we like that, we hit OK and lock it in. We can see all of our effects right here. So if I hide this, the little eyeball, you can see the difference we've made. Now if I want to copy these effects onto my green bar, I don't have to go all the way back through and do this. I can just right click on this layer. So again, that was a right click, and I can copy the layer style. Now I can come up to my green bar, I can paste that layer style. So if I want the same thing on multiple layers, or at least that same layer style on multiple layers, I can just copy and paste it, boom, and there we go. Okay, so to recap, in this video we have brought in a background, we have added a blending option of a stroke and a drop shadow, and learned how to rename our layers.